Hello, nerds and nerdettes. Is that a thing? Nerdettes? Anyway, welcome to your new favourite pop culture podcast, the Post-Credit Show. I'm your host, Loosh, and I've got the king of all knowledge and wisdom of the DC universe sitting here with me, the one and only Dino. How are you, brother?
Hey, matey, don't talk me up too much like that. You know, I got to live up to those things when you say those nice ego-driving compliments you give me.
Well, look, I mean, I figured we can call you the king because your hairline's receding so much that you basically have a crown on your head now.
Oh, okay. No, that's fair. Look, I can live with that. I don't have to deal with so much pressure then.
I mean, I've got a couple of crowns here if you want to wear one just as a prop. We've got a King Joffrey's crown behind me here. I've even got a custom-made sterling silver wolf crown, so...
I'm actually staring at it right now. Maybe another time, mate. Maybe another time.
Maybe when we do a Game of Thrones podcast.
I like that.
Yeah. I've actually got this big Jon Snow get-up with the long claw hanging off the wall and everything.
You know what would be fun is if we actually did do some dress-up stuff when we do one of these things, get right into character.
Right, I'm calling it right now. Episode number 20 is going to be a Game of Thrones episode, and we're going to film it.
Ah, okay, yeah, and get up in the character. I love it. I'm going to be Joffrey because everyone hates Joffrey.
And the words of Sir Charles Dance.
Long live the king.
Whew! Alrighty.
Did you ever notice, obviously last week we spoke about the Monsterverse, and obviously, you know, I spent a lot of time re-listening to that podcast about 11 million times in the process of editing it, and it just got me in a mood to go back and watch everything again.
It did for me too.
Yeah, man, I'd actually forgotten that Sir Charles Dance is in the Monsterverse, and the callback to Game of Thrones where King Ghidorah is on the top of the mountain and he turns around to the chick, what's her name, and says,
I thought we were going to release them gradually, one at a time.
I'm not the one doing this.
Long live the king.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, it's a Game of Thrones callback.
I mean, it worked. And he's such a brilliant actor.
Man, those movies have got so many big names in them. Like, fucking Brie Larson.
Yeah.
Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston.
In Skull Island.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Actually, it was so funny. We were just talking about Charles Dance, and one of the things that stood out to me is what's your favourite Charles Dance movie? Just quickly. We'll add
Last Action Hero.
My man! Hey! Sorry, I might have boomed then, but holy hell, that was where I was going. Oh my god, yes.
He was such a good villain.
God, he's the
so good.
best. The glass eye and everything.
And that moment where he takes the sunnies off and it's just the glass eye, it's like, ooh,
mate. Sorry, I might have blew up the microphone, but I'm so stoked that you said that. You have no idea.
I loved that movie, man. I remember growing up, we had all of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie collections, and that was by far my favorite.
Easily mine.
Yeah,
easily.
So good. So meta as well. Like they did what Deadpool did before Deadpool was a thing. You know, like breaking the fourth wall. Like, it was just so good. Anyway, we are not here to talk about the history of good and bad Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, although that could be a multi-episode series right there. We are here today because we've decided that we wanted to delve into another multiverse. We're going to have a look at the DC and the DC Extended Cinematic Universe.
Okay, now diving into this one. Are we going to touch on some stuff with the TV series and the DC universe there? Because I think Extended Universe, that was one of the things they originally were going to include, but they didn't really do much, except for Ezra Miller, when he made a cameo in The Flash.
Oh, yeah. Well, they also did Peacemaker, which was a TV series with John Cena, which I couldn't stand.
Really?
Didn't like it.
See, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was weird, but it was different. I liked it.
It's odd for me because, as someone who grew up watching John Cena in wrestling, you've got this guy who is so wholesome and so good, and so PG rated because WWE is going through their PG era. But then he's on screen as this hard-ass motherfucking military, fuck this, and F-bombs out, and blowing people's skulls off, and it felt jarring to me.
not being the same wrestling fan level as you, but obviously watching during the John Cena era, I can see where you're coming from. But I also like the fact that he gets to test his chops and his range and do different things. Because he has played, different characters. And I like that. I like it a lot.
On the note of John Cena, now, as you would be aware, the Screen Actors Guild of America strike is now over, which means that everyone's going back to work.
And we get some good products.
We get some fucking great products. About time. There's been a lot of delays. Stranger Things has apparently been delayed until 2025, which is shit. A whole bunch of the House of the Dragon has been delayed. Like, everything's been delayed. Really just depressing. Although, it's really interesting. John Cena played this really smart. So, while the Writers Guild of America strike was going on, he went back home to WWE.
Yeah, right.
And was performing as a wrestler in WWE because they're not covered by the writers' strike.
Ah.
And as soon as the writers' strike ended, all of a sudden the megastar, the quote-unquote GOAT, don't believe that, but anyway, was pulled out of WWE because all of his projects are back on. So WWE, I think a few episodes ago, I was talking to Sam, and you and I have had this conversation before as well, and I said, WWE's biggest mistake right now is that they don't have any megastars. Bitch, they do now.
Yeah, you were telling me all about this one.
Those playing at home, if you're not a wrestling fan, then you are not going to get what I'm talking about. But if you are a wrestling fan, he's back, baby. And you know who I'm talking about. R-Truth is back.
Y'all know what time it is. Let's crank it up. Let's crank it up. Here we go.
Oh yeah, and so is Randy Orton and CM Punk. But anyway, moving on. So I thought we would start talking about, obviously I've mentioned in the past that my back history of fandom, started with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But one of the big things that I remember the most about my childhood is growing up in the Batman 89 era. And I remember it very specifically because I was also working at McDonald's. I was about 15, 16 years old. And around the time I was working at McDonald's, they were doing the McDonald's Happy Meal toys to celebrate the release of Batman Returns. Which really, even at the young age of 15, made me scratch my head a little bit. Because I'm like, I know Batman is really popular with children. But Batman Returns was rated MA.
Yeah, that was a much darker one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid, watching Penguin grab someone's face and bite his nose almost clean off and just the squirt of blood.
Still, could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood. Your nose could be...
Yeah, man, that was a wild scene. And then obviously, Christopher Walken's character getting electrocuted to death.
Such a good character, though.
Catwoman.
Max Schreck was just such a great, hateable billionaire character. Anyway. Catwoman, yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer, incredible.
Brilliant.
When I went to Universal Studios a few years back, they actually had Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman suit on display, like the one that she wore in the movies, and it's actually really fascinating how tiny she is.
Very small.
Oh, she is, significantly smaller than any human you've ever met in your life.
Shit, eh?
Yeah, really small.
I wouldn't have picked it that small anyway.
But yeah, massive fan of the Batman series. I grew up reading Batman. One of my first comic books that I was given was, like I said a few episodes ago, Spawn issue 1. But very shortly after that was thrown away, it was deemed acceptable to read a comic book about a self-entitled billionaire whose parents were killed, so he turns into a vigilante. My Christian parents said that one was okay.
So Batman's fine. Batman passes the buck.
Batman passes.
So, you're talking about Batman 89. You're talking about that's the year you grew up with.
Yes.
Now, recently we've obviously had a fair few slated DC movies that have come through.
I refuse to admit that.
I enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot, and I want to touch on a few of those.
As far as I'm concerned, the DC Extended Universe ended with Batman 1989 and Batman Returns.
Oh, well, it's not very long then, is it?
There's been nothing since.
Well, thank you for listening to our podcast.
Is it joke time yet? Shit, I need to Google a joke. But no, look, I'll humour you for the next half an hour. Let's talk about this supposed extended universe that, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't exist.
So for me, like yourself, you had like Batman as you grew up and stuff. Superman was my guy. A lot because of Christopher Reeve and what he did in those movies back in the day. But another big one is Smallville. I was a massive Smallville fan. So big. It was like this wholesome kind of show. I loved every episode. I watched it all over.
See, I'm showing my age a little bit because your thing was Smallville, my thing was Lois and Clark. Dean Cain, baby.
And that's another one I used to watch too. Because that was still airing on TV when I was like watching all that Superman stuff.
It must have been the fucking repeat.
I still remember Dean Cain in a cage and Lex Luthor opposite him and he said, "This cage can't hold me, Lex." And then the cage started glowing green. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, those moments are cool. And that's what I like about the mythology of Superman and all of that. Is like that he's this larger-than-life character. But the thing that, like, stops him is not so much the kryptonite, but it's, like, his human side, that he wants to be good. He doesn't want to kind of be this overruler and this omnipotent god.
Which, as Tom Taylor's written in the Injustice series, he very much could be the overlord of everything.
Which is a great take.
Oh, it's fantastic, and I'm so happy someone finally did it.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Tom Taylor. I'm going to send you a message at some point. We're going to get you on the podcast.
It's awesome that stuff exists because that's basically like fandom, but now as canon or in a version of the multiverse. So yeah, no, I dig all of that kind of stuff. And now it leads me to Man of Steel, which was Henry Cavill as a casting for Superman. Got to agree, it's a beast of a casting.
Well, hold on. Before we had Man of Steel, didn't we have what do we have? We had Batman Returns. Superman Returns.
Yes.
Isn't that officially the first movie of the so-called DCEU?
I don't think so. I think they kind of rebooted when it come to that one. That was Brandon Routh's take.
I liked him.
I like Brandon Routh too. And I mean, we're fans of like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and he had a good role in that.
Yeah, he was fantastic. But yeah, Brandon Routh, I really liked Brandon Routh, Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, he was good in that. And then they actually mixed in Legends of Tomorrow when they did the whole multiverse thing with that whole like series, like, the Flash Arrowverse kind of stuff. And they had him play Legacy Superman.
Yeah, they did. That's right.
Which was amazing.
Look, this is where I have a real struggle. Like, I loved the Arrow.
So do I.
Absolutely freaking loved it. I actually think it's one of the best, if not the best, comic books TV series ever made. Stephen Amell is incredible. My problem is when they started doing crossovers. Now, we live in Australia. For those in America who are blessed enough to be able to watch most of this shit on demand, in Australia we have this thing called time delay. So even though we're in the future, we more often than not get episodes of television shows a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, or in the case of some TV shows like the most recent series of Young Sheldon that finished up in February this year, and we only got it last month.
Where did we get it on?
Netflix.
Okay. So did we not have any of it? Yeah, see,
it's ridiculous. So and that's where the Arrowverse really confused me, and I struggled so much with it because like those crossover episodes that they created, you really had to follow along in a specific chronological order, but they weren't released out here in that chronological order.
I get what you're saying. Like the timing was pretty off with them.
We've got Foxtel, and on Foxtel we've got a channel called Fox 8, which airs all of these types of TV shows, WWE, Simpsons, the Arrowverse, the Flash, all that sort of stuff. And like you would have Arrow marathons where they would play episodes out of order. They would literally play episodes, 3 straight days of the Arrow, but not in order. So you would get episode 1 of a crossover, and then if you were still watching, 18 hours later, you'd get that second episode. But being able to find the other connecting episodes from Legends of Tomorrow and The Flash and, all these other... Like, it was a nightmare. So I kind of gave up on it. I just stuck to the Arrow.
Yeah. Look, apparently The Flash was incredible. Didn't it do like 9 seasons or something?
I think they did a bit more than 9 seasons, but yeah, I
feel like they had their ninth season and then they called it, I think 9. I heard that number very recently somewhere. But, Arrow...
I think you might be right. I think it is 9 seasons.
Yeah, so Arrow, Flash...
Grant Gustin. I was actually really sad that Grant Gustin didn't play a role in the Flash movie.
I get why. trying to keep the properties separate to have none of what happens in that world. Like, because with those movies...
We had fucking Nick Cage pop up in it.
As...
Superman.
Oh, like that very brief cameo.
Yeah, like it would have been cool to see a Grant Gustin cameo in that moment.
In that moment, yes. I know the moment you're talking about. Now, I mean, we both watched The Flash together, didn't we? We went to the cinema to see it. I enjoyed it. I don't know about you. I enjoyed the movie.
I totally understand the criticisms, though. I enjoyed the movie, but I totally understand the criticisms. The biggest one being the CGI. There were moments in that, like, honestly, the CGI where they had the close-ups and the focuses on all of those cameos as the Flash is racing through the multiverse was... it made the Scorpion King look good.
I do know what you mean. It's so funny in this era. Like, when we first saw Infinity War 2018, and not to cross too much in Marvel, and I won't touch them too much, but seeing the motion capture and seeing what they did with Thanos, right, and having you basically looking at a Josh Brolin Thanos, like you could not fault it. The lighting, everything was perfect.
Everything was perfect.
And then you come over, and we're now a couple of years into the future, and we're not getting anywhere near that quality again.
No, we're not.
And especially with properties like DC. And I get their tonality, I get what they try to do with it. And I know they're kind of all over the place, you know, creatively. They're kind of having differences in what they want to kind of produce. But, yeah, I don't know. There's some stuff that I don't think we're in an age where you can kind of let it slide as much. Those moments should get by.
It's hard. It's hard to kind of get a grasp of what's going on at the moment. Like there was some pretty damning reports that came out about the Flash. Now, obviously, the Flash movie was delayed a number of times, and there were issues with its primary actor, Ezra Miller. But there were also other things that came out shortly after the movie came out, where the production studio, the animation studios that were like the CGI, responsible for the CGI side of things, they actually had to kind of come out and defend themselves a little bit and let the world know that apparently they were only given like 2 weeks to do this multi-million-dollar film's CGI, which is why it looked so basic.
Right.
It's like a bit depressing that a studio as big as Warner Brothers has taken those kinds of liberties with people who are responsible for developing really high-end, high-quality production, and they're just going, well, you know, you have to do it in 2 weeks now.
I mean, same studio that did Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was fucking fantastic.
Exactly, but they had more than 2 weeks to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So...
yeah, post-COVID world is weird. It's weird with...
It is weird.
It's weird with movies and stuff. But, you know, talking about the DC, talking about the stuff that we do get, and I've always said this every episode, that we're blessed with the amount of stuff that we do have. If you're a fan and you look for the fandom, you will find stuff you like in everything. And Man of Steel, for me, was such a good movie. Like, I loved it so much. And then Batman vs Superman... I had my issues with it when I saw it, but I still liked it. And then the Blu-ray version came out, and I was blown away. I was like, this is the story that was supposed to be told. And then we had the same thing happen again with Justice League.
Why is Warner Brothers doing this, though?
I think it was a bad timing moment for Justice League in that section. Like, 2017, I think that came out, and that was a lot to do with like Zack Snyder and having some issues at home, personal problems that he had to deal with.
What was their excuse with Batman vs Superman then?
I think the studio wanted a more like cut down version of it, and
that annoys the fuck out of me.
It seems like a control thing where you don't let the creators create. Like,
it's one of the things that I do like about Marvel, in that they kind of give. So my understanding from interviews that I've watched from a couple of different directors and a couple of different people involved in the production side of Marvel properties is that they get given very specific beats that they have to hit, but they can work around those beats and do what they need to do to tell the right story. And
flavour the movie how they should.
Exactly.
And we look at Taika Waititi's Thor Ragnarok.
Which is so different to any other movie in the universe.
It came out of nowhere, and it was released the same year the friggin' Justice League was released, and we have these two properties doing the exact opposite.
Yep.
One giving complete creative freedom, and the other, like, trying to strangle it.
And to be quite frank, neither of them were received very well by the critics.
Thor Ragnarok.
Nah. No, people hated Thor Ragnarok.
No.
Sorry, not Ragnarok. Sorry, I'm thinking Love and Thunder. Never mind. We'll go back to Ragnarok. Yeah, no, Thor Ragnarok was phenomenal.
Bomb, like so good.
Not a bomb, as in like the bomb digging.
No,
bomb,
the bomb.
Sorry, my bad. Was thinking about Love and Thunder. I've got.
Oh yeah, that got panned.
Well, look, I mean, let's talk about things that got panned. You know, let's talk about Henry Cavill. They hated him.
Do you think that?
They absolutely hated him.
I must run in different
circles. Get on
circles.
your Wayback Machine. Go and have a look at the reviews that came out a couple of days after Man of Steel first came out. They fucking hated Henry Cavill.
Yeah, see, I must run in different circles. And I mean, I don't listen
when
to
I say they, I mean the critics. Not so much the fans. The fans never hated Henry Cavill.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
Look, there's always fans that hate something.
Everything.
Like, you could have the most benign statement. Here is a rock. And someone will hate it.
Not rock.
You know, like, it's just fucking stupid. But the critics absolutely hated his deadpan presentation. They felt like he was lacking emotion. There wasn't a great deal of range to him. I'm like, guys, he's a fucking alien.
Yeah, that's grown up in the country.
He's a fucking alien from Kansas. What are you talking about? There's no range. There's no range in Kansas. I hope no one here is listening from Kansas. If there is, I'm sorry. Pay for my flights out and prove me wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to fly, but... Or you.
In 20 years' time, when this episode, people are going back, hey, you know that really, the world's largest pop culture podcast? Yeah, let's go back and listen to their first 10 episodes. And I'll get a fucking phone call from someone going, oh, you still want to come to Kansas?
That'd be funny. I can't wait to be around for that one. But yeah, look, I don't know the fans. I'm a fan. I loved it. I thought it was different. It was definitely different coming off the back of the last Superman actor, which was Brandon Routh, and that was years earlier, which I think it wasn't that many years earlier, actually.
It wasn't that many years earlier,
2006, Superman Returns was released, and then 2013, Man of Steel. So it wasn't that many years.
Now, tell me, you might know this better than I do.
Sure.
I heard a rumor that they had to they had to edit out Brandon Routh's package.
What?
Apparently he was too bulgy in the post-production version.
See, I don't know if that's true, because what I do know about his outfit...
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, my bad. What I do know about his outfit is that because of he's very tall, right, very lanky kind of guy, and he is actually now, when he was in Scott Pilgrim, he muscled up hard. But even for that role as Superman, like, because he was long, it's, as a tall guy myself, it's harder to build muscle quickly as a tall guy. So they actually put in some of the kind of the padding into the suit to make it bigger. So I think it was padded out.
That's actually hilarious.
But to be fair, like, I don't know. I wasn't looking at his package, to be honest.
I mean, like, we're going to move on from there, but...
Is this a thing where Superman guys just have things edited out in post-production?
Apparently, because Henry Cavill's moustache was edited out too, wasn't it?
It was.
But then again, so was Captain America's beard, or whatever, so, like, in that post-credit scene from the first Avengers movie, he'd already gone and started filming another movie where he needed a full beard. So when you see him in the post-credit scene, he's sitting with his hand over his face like this, and they edited out the little bits that you could see.
I think that was Snowpiercer he was growing up for.
Yeah, fuck, that was a good movie.
It was
as an even
came
better
out of
TV
nowhere.
series too.
It came out of nowhere. I've never seen it.
Oh, so good.
But it's on my list.
Yeah, so good. Look, okay, so DC has a range of movies, and they have been so hit and miss. It actually gives you whiplash trying to follow, you know, which movies were good, which movies weren't good, what ones people liked, what ones people hated. So if we were to talk chronologically about the current DC Extended Universe, chronologically, storyline-wise, the first movie in the series is Wonder Woman 2017.
Oh, from this like rebootish thing?
Yeah,
okay.
So Patty Jenkins did a fantastic job with this movie.
Did she come back for the second?
She came back for the second one, yes.
Cool.
But like people at the time, you know, I think at this point, Carol Danvers had made her appearance in the MCU. You've got Scarlet Witch. You've got Black Widow. You've got like a couple of like mid to upper-ish card female heroines coming through, and obviously you had Wonder Woman, who had already been a part of the Justice League of America movie. The Justice League movie. But no one really put any faith in a female-fronted, let alone a female-directed movie. Wonder Woman not only is the first movie in the series chronologically, but it is also the highest rated movie in the series, sitting at 93%.
So when you say chronologically, you mean obviously in the order that the films are supposed to be told as a story?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, now I get you. Sorry, I kind of confused you when you said 1917. I was thinking 1987 or whichever.
2017.
No, which
was when it was. So then you got 1984
That's the one.
Wonder Woman, which is the second one, which, ratings-wise dropped from 93 down to the mid-50s.
Yeah.
I actually thought that 84 was quite good.
It was fun. I liked it.
It had Pedro Pascal in it. So.
He was. Life is good, but it can be better.
And then the next one we've got is Man of Steel. And again, talking about Man of Steel, talking about Henry Cavill, 56%.
Yeah, that's
It's wild.
I mean, that's Rotten Tomatoes. I know on IMDb it's higher. And I know I'm a fan of the movie. It's hard for me I've seen movies with much higher ratings that can't be justified.
No.
Versus that 56 or whatever it is. Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
It makes me hard when I see a movie that is panned by the critics but so loved by the
audience score.
Oh,
Didn't they
I love it. The bigger it is, the harder I get.
Didn't that happen with the Marvels recently?
It did.
And there was something else as well.
I'll tell you what it didn't happen with. Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, 29%.
Yeah, wait, the
fans and critics.
Yeah. Look, I went into that movie, like with all my comic book movies, being a fan of stuff, and I go in there with open mind going, I want to see the story they're trying to tell. But the story was disjointed because what was filmed and what was planned to be on screen wasn't what actually made it. So we got this cut down version, and the story was supposed to be a little deeper, and it only got deeper when you saw the Blu-ray cut that came out afterwards.
Look, I'm gonna put it out here now, and I know that it's gonna be a popular opinion with some, unpopular with others. Ben Affleck is not Batman.
I'm Batman.
I think he was good in the first one, and then I didn't really care much for him in Justice League or anything else.
I love you, but you just blasphemed.
No. I was happy with him in the first one. I thought that was good. He was this rough, angry kind of dude. I didn't mind him.
That's not Batman to me. Like, as a fan of the traditional fucking... Dude, I grew up watching Adam West Batman. Now, that's not even Batman. Like, to me, that's not comic book honoring Batman. Well, I mean, it is early days comic Batman, but like where we were in the comic book lore of Batman to where Ben Affleck took Batman, it was a miss. It was a miss, and it was a miss over and over again. Every time he showed up, it just didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense because I didn't get billionaire playboy philanthropist from him.
Yeah.
I got scruff, middle class, dad bod Batman.
I mean, it was very documented and very kind of said that it was going to be based on Frank Miller's The Dark Knight, which was the part 1 and part 2, which ended up in a battle with Superman after a battle with the mutants in the part 1. Which, by the way, I don't know how recently you've read that, but it's
been a while.
Fucking fantastic. And then they did in 2014, they did a cartoon version of it.
Yeah,
and
I did watch
my
that.
God, it is so good. But that's kind of what they were touching on without going full old man Batman. They wanted the older guy. They wanted the beefier kind of like brawler kind of dude, and then they wanted the angry version. And I get what they're doing with it. It's just a different version.
And this is where I think DC and Marvel were worlds apart at this time. Well, not even necessarily Marvel. Fucking Sony. Old Man Logan. Like that Logan movie was just like exactly what you're talking about. Wanting that older, gruff, been around, seen too much, ready to just fuck all you all off, right? Like they nailed that performance in Logan. And if that's what they were going for in Batman vs Superman, I feel like they missed it.
I think it's very different worlds when for me, the Marvel Universe, and especially because at the time it was the Fox Marvel Universe, which was the Mutants, which was a bit more grounded, Earth-based kind of thing. I think, like, the thing is, it's a hard one to tell because it was adapted from Old Man Logan, which was one of my favourite comic books of all time. Of all time. It's so good. And Hugh Jackman's played the character for so long.
You know X-23?
Yeah.
Yeah, the young kid?
Yes.
That character was also one of Tom Taylor's creations.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very
The first
cool.
time something that he created made it into a movie. Tom Taylor being a local Melbourne comic book writer,
Yep.
who was responsible for the monster success of the Injustice Gods Among Us comic book series.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's super incredible.
Yeah. I actually have a couple of Tom Taylor autographed comic books around here as well.
Well, with all the talking about him, I'm sure he might even show up at some point.
I mean, but the next movie chronologically was one that I actually thought was fun. I actually really enjoyed it. Suicide Squad.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who
The first one?
Yes.
I liked it.
I did too.
I liked it.
I liked seeing Harley Quinn in a cinematic universe finally.
Yeah.
She
was
kind
great.
of not a big fan of Will Smith, unless, you know, we're talking about his most recent performance as Will Smith the Slapper. That was his best performance of all time. Did you know, on that note, slight diversion, word's starting to get around that might have actually been a work.
Really?
Yeah, because there is a scene from a TV series back in the 1920s that is almost frame for frame, word for word, exactly the same.
Okay.
Except for the F-bombs that he threw.
Show me that afterwards.
Yeah, I'll
okay.
have to see if I can find it again.
But
yeah, fucking Jared
Suicide Squad.
Leto and Joel Kinnaman and Jai Courtney.
Yeah, Boomerang. He was a
He was
fucking
so fucking
bogan Aussie Boomerang. I loved him.
He died too soon.
Oh my, that. Okay, I have my opinions here. I guess this is the place to do it. So, Suicide Squad 1, it got panned, I guess. People didn't like it.
26%.
Fuck, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I liked it, you liked it. Suicide Squad 2, everyone's praising James
hated
Gunn.
it.
I fucking hated it.
Absolutely hated it.
Did not like it.
Yeah.
And I like James Gunn.
I like James Gunn too. Although, and I've said this in the podcast before, I do think when it comes to running an entire cinematic studio, I don't think he's got the chops for it.
Let's see how he goes.
We'll see how he goes. And I will dead set be cheering the whole way because I want to see my boy Batman back in the big screen. I want to see someone do it justice. Robert Pattinson did pretty good.
I liked him.
But yeah, I'm really hoping that James Gunn is able to pull some fucking rabbits out of his hat, and I'm hoping he's able to do it without raiding the Marvel acting and script writing squad. Because, like, dude, both universes can coexist.
Yeah, and I want them to be different. I don't want the same cookie cutter shit.
Exactly. We've seen James Gunn movies with superheroes before. And it was one of the things that I didn't like about Suicide Squad 2 is it felt like it was trying to compete with Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's what it felt like with me.
Yeah.
It felt campy, but with the leash let a little loose to be violent.
Yep.
And I didn't... It was like, I don't want my violence to be fun. If I want the Batman universe where Batman's like beating up people and it's this high stakes and all that kind of stuff, I don't want fucking polka dot guy like killing people, making them block. Like, oh, come on.
So fucking bad.
Fuck. And then they killed Boomerang in the first fucking scene. Like,
Yeah. Like, you know, you have an entire continent of fans who are like, oh,
Yeah.
all in the space of
And
about
then that-
15 minutes.
And that weird rat thing.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
That was acted by James Gunn's brother, by the way, Sean Gunn.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. He does a lot of motion capture.
Yeah, so he was also in Guardians as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do like Sean Gunn.
He's actually quite funny
he
looking.
He is good.
Not that we're body shaming, but also Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. Oh, I love Viola Davis. I think she's one of the most incredible actors in the world.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch How to Get Away with Murder?
I watched the first episode, I think.
Oh my god, she's incredible.
The thing is, that came out on like TV here. We got that on TV. And when I say TV, I mean like free-to-air, normal TV. I never could watch free-to-air because I just never had the time. I'd always go back and watch something that I got streamed or whatever. But yeah, no, she's brilliant.
I was stoked to see her in a Hollywood movie. Like I think it was one of her first real big ones. She didn't get a lot of screen time, but fuck me, she's such a good actor. I'm a massive Viola Davis fan. But then, following on from the first Suicide Squad movie, we've got Justice League 2017.
Everybody knows that you love me, baby. Everybody knows that you really do. Everybody knows that you've been faithful.
We're talking about the cinematic release, not the DVD.
Yeah, okay. If we're going off cinematic release, now obviously we know, and it's well documented, that Zack Snyder had to leave the project partway through. He had a vision and a plan for it. At this time, we are also coming off the back of a ridiculous amount of success from Marvel, going into their second phase and then their third phase, or starting their third phase, going into Infinity War just a year later. And then Joss Whedon came in after the success of 2 Avengers movies, and he just wasn't... Look, I think he's good. Buffy was great. Avengers was great.
Joss Whedon is not allowed to touch another thing ever again.
See,
the words of Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yes!
Ooh, that's dark. But Joss, I mean, I don't mind the guy. I don't mind his products and what he's done, but it just wasn't what I wanted from that movie, and it did not continue the tonality at all. And then Batman was making jokes as he got fucking like banged up.
But see, in fairness, Michael Keaton's Batman did that as well, but Michael Keaton
same
presented like a billionaire.
Yeah, it was not the same. Speaking of Michael Keaton, we'll touch on, but God, having him back as Batman, what a movie.
It was actually the best part of the Flash movie, I think.
I think for me too.
But look, obviously, that was 2017 release, and then in 2021 we got Snyder's version of the Justice League, which thankfully we got. A little bit depressing that it took a significant online campaign for it to happen.
And a lot of time.
Yeah, like... are these idiots not paying attention? Do they not know who their customers are?
That's the thing. It seems like that. And it seems like a lot of businesses, even, especially post-COVID as well, like a lot of businesses and movies, they're kind of like, oh, this is what our customers want. They want this, they want that. It's like, but we're not asking for that at all. Like, we're not.
Now, I need to obviously we're halfway through the cinematic universe here. But I kind of want to just step in for a quick second and just say, I know some of the tone that I'm using when I'm talking about this is really... talking down about these movies. And I want to make it very, very clear here. There is a difference between hope and faith.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Faith is when you know something is going to happen. Like you have an intrinsic belief that it's going to be good. And sometimes you're let down, but generally you're not. Hope is when there is no faith and you're just clinging on to a fucking last hope that some cunt's going to come in and turn something into magic. And that's where I am right now.
In the hope
I don't
stage.
want to see the DC cinematic universe collapse. I am hopeful for some kind of triumphant return to the big screen because, my God, you have some of the... Like I said, I grew up as a DC fan. I'm so passionate about those characters that I feel almost personally attacked when these shitty movies with these garbage translations of exceptionally good shit is it coming out. Like, it makes no sense, and I don't understand. Like, to me, this is what happens when you put someone who is not a fan of comic book culture at the head of a studio. Kevin Feige is a fan of comic book culture. Most of the directors that you see coming through the through the MCU are fans of comic books. You know, like, I don't hate the DC Extended Universe. I just wanted it to be better, and I'm really fucking hopeful. Please, James, please save this universe.
Yeah. I mean, when they started with, I think it was Man of Steel, or when in the Batman vs Superman, they had Jeff Johns, which was one of the heads of DC's comics as well for a little while. And I thought you know, I thought that was the right move. Like, you're getting a creative person. But, I don't know. It wasn't it, was it?
Now, in a completely backwards turn of events, immediately after we've had the Justice League movie, we get Aquaman's first origin movie.
Which was great.
It was fantastic.
I loved
only
it.
rated 65%.
Really?
But I kind of got to say, there was a formula that was set out here, and they kind of decided to go against it.
As in, go deeper on that.
Well, I mean, the amount of cinema experience, the amount of movies that have come out where there's like origin story team up. Mm-hmm. And then these guys went origin story, team up, then origin story, then origin story, then origin story. I'm like, but we already know these characters now. You've already kind of introduced them, and we sort of already understand their nuances. This movie almost feels wasted. It should have been immediately before the Justice League came out.
I think, yeah, I mean, like, I know what you mean, and it's based off, like, obviously Marvel doing it as well, and then even Star Wars and Harry Potter, how you introduce characters throughout the years. And the origin story is kind of spliced in, though, with Aquaman, because they tell the story of him younger, but they're telling a current story of him now, where he's, you know, the first scene is like him getting drunk with his dad at a bar, which is cool, played by Tamara Morrison, which is a legend. Django Fett.
Absolute legend. Absolute legend. Those, yeah, just an iconic accent too.
Brilliant.
Like the second he opens his mouth, there's no question.
Yeah, he's so good.
But like we jump from, and I'm jumping around a little bit here because like obviously we've just had the Justice League, then we've got fucking Aquaman, and then we go into Shazam. Also massively rated at 90%.
As by
critics.
And audience?
Audience not looking at it at the moment, just going on the critics at the moment. I know we've said fuck the critics, but we'll get back to that. and then we're going back to Birds of Prey, The Fabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn.
That movie existed.
And then we're going back to a Suicide Squad movie, and then we've got the Peacemaker TV series, then Black Adam, then Shazam again, then The Flash, then Blue Beetle, and I'm like, okay. Now we've got Aquaman 2 coming out in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm just like, where's this going? Especially given that before The Flash came out, we found out that the original Justice League had all been terminated. So what's the point in this Aquaman movie that's about to come out?
Well, I think The Flash is kind of a reset. I don't know if they've done anything in post-credit, because Aquaman's taking a lot longer than expected. There could be something there. I mean,
I actually think the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation, which I don't really want to comment on because you know it's not really our place.
It was reality TV for a couple of months.
but I think that played a big part as to why it's been delayed.
Well,
as well,
I think she had part of her scenes cut down, and then all of them. Like now, she's not in the movie.
Oh no, I think she is still in the movie for very, very small sequences, but she's been taken off all the promotional posters. Right. Like she's not in any of that, which is a bit disappointing because if I'm going to stand by the whole love the artist, separate the art from the artist thing, then actually no, hold on, she wasn't really that good anyway as an artist. Anyway, never mind.
As a guy, she looks pretty good in that fucking green suit.
You mean that CGI green suit? Because no one ever gets to wear their suits in this universe.
I don't care. I mean, when she came out of the water, I was just like, oh, look. Sometimes you got to be fucking... Yeah.
Now, bro, look, I got to say, I really enjoyed Shazam Fury of the Gods, which is the second Shazam.
That was fun.
I quite enjoyed The Flash.
Yeah.
And you and I completely forgot about Blue Beetle.
Oh, no, I didn't forget. I was actually thinking it probably like 5 minutes ago, and I was going to bring it up because apparently, obviously didn't do super well box office, but apparently on the streaming service, because it's already on a streaming service, and it's killing it. It's getting tons of views.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's some shows that people are waiting for, but I guess...
I feel like Blue Beetle came out at a really rough time. There was a lot of blockbusters. Like, we just had Oppenheimer, we just had Barbie. You know, there's a whole bunch of big movies that had just come out. What did we go and watch where we saw the ads for Blue Beetle? What was it? It might have been The Flash, actually.
Oh, it might have been, yeah.
But there was a whole bunch of big shit that came out, and you know, obviously, any movies that have come out in the last 8 months have struggled because of the Screen Actors Guild strike. None of the actors were able to do any promotional work for it. So, exceptionally good quality movies are being left to dwindle away at the box office. Like, the Marvel's making $190 million globally. Well, yeah, because none of the actors got to do any promo work for it.
Yeah, and did come out much quicker than I expected. I don't think they put a huge amount of time into their marketing budget, but I also think it's one of those movies where they're like, we don't know how this is going to go. And then obviously there's so much up in the air with the writers and the Actors Guild strike. And yeah, man, I think some studios were probably just playing it a little safe. Some of the reasons we haven't seen movies that were told we were going to get ages ago, and now they still haven't come out. But yeah, I mean, Aquaman 2, I'm keen to see, for sure.
Look, I'm really keen to see Aquaman 2. I will go and see it in the cinemas because I will still continue to pay my money to this universe in the hope that somewhere along the lines the studio realizes, oh shit, people are still spending their money on the product that we're releasing. Let's maybe do a bit of fan service here and look after our fans and do something worth them spending money on, right?
And a quick note on Blue Beetle as well, just quickly. If we had seen his character maybe pop up or something, or in some way, or Easter egged in another thing, there might have been some feeling for it, especially if you used him in a bigger thing, like maybe showed him in Aquaman or something else. I don't know the answer, because I'm not the creative. But it came out of nowhere. It's like, here's a character, nowhere, right? And Harley Quinn was a great character in Suicide Squad. And yet she had a movie on her own, basically, Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey one. And honestly, I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah. It was like, I know I've seen it. Can't remember anything about it though.
Ewan McGregor was the bad guy.
Yeah, that's not ringing any bells.
He played Black Mask, or one of the Batman villains from the old cartoon.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, I
still drawing blanks.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But like, Ewan McGregor was, he was good.
It just wasn't very rewatchable.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, we obviously didn't rewatch it, but I saw it at the cinemas the week it came out, and yeah, like you said, kind of forgettable, kind of not rewatchable.
Yeah.
It's not that it was a bad movie. It's just I wasn't drawn back to it, and maybe that's because we're so spoiled. But I don't know.
All right, well, look, cool. There's so much that we've already seen. Apparently, for the most part, none of it's relevant anymore, so we've hit the big reset button. Where to from here? What does James Gunn have to do to create a coherent, well-told story across a multi-movie universe?
All right, I reckon we give ourselves a minute each on this one, and we dive into it on what we think we can do. And I reckon I'm going to go quickly first. You have to get your base characters right. You have to get the ones that DC are revolved around. You have to get Batman right. You have to get Superman right. And you have to get them to exist within the same universe right. Robert Pattinson's one seems a little bit like the Christopher Nolan one, where he existed outside of the Superman world and all that kind of thing. And look, don't get me wrong, he can come in, but it has to be gradual. There can't be this, suddenly we have this crossover and stuff. You have to earn your right to tell a good story by doing the legwork. And I think if Superman hits it out of the park, which, I mean, the casting seems good, we're seeing some good stuff come through, and James Gunn's very happy with the script. I've seen him on a podcast, very happy with the script. Nail your base characters and spread out from there. I know that's something Marvel did, but it worked. And that's how we want stories told. How about you?
Do everything in your power to not be like Marvel.
Opposite it up.
Like, seriously, if James Gunn comes in and goes, hey, I've done this before, I can do this, and just copies the shit that he did at Marvel, it's going to bomb. We don't need to see that anymore. There are very specific characters that kind of comedic approach works for. Batman and Superman are not those characters. And if we get something that has that kind of shitty fucking humor in it that you can only ever really see Chris Pratt saying, then I'm done. That's it. Like, super, super simple. Do not try to be like Marvel. DC, the comic books that I was reading as a kid in the DC universe. Now, bearing in mind, there's like closing in on 85 years of DC comic book history here, yeah? I don't know all of that comic book history. Obviously, there were comedic approaches to Batman and Superman throughout comic book history. But the modern day comic book presentation of Batman is not fucking funny. It is serious, it is dark, it is gritty, it is the dark light in a dark night. And that's what I want to see on the screen. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see fucking... I don't know. Who have they cast as Batman? Have they even announced who the new Batman is yet?
No, I think Robert Pattinson is still currently Batman within their projects. I don't know if they're going to bring...
I don't think that's connected to Gunn's universe.
Probably not. I mean, it's all under the same banner, studio owned everything. I think the big focus at the moment is Superman, the first movie, year one or whatever it's called. Superman... basically, he's like the early
Superman
version. Legacy, I think that's it. Yeah. I think that's their big project, and I think if they're chopping down other projects and kind of trying to really focus on that one, it gives me good signs that I hope. And I mean, we haven't really seen a terrible Superman movie. Superman Returns, obviously, you've said is fun. I liked it, but compared to a lot of people, I know they thought it was a terrible movie. But yeah, we'll see.
I mean, like, it was always going to be a terrible movie to some fans because it was always going to be compared to Christopher Reeves, bless his soul.
Yeah.
Like, the idea is that this is Christopher Reeves' Superman returning.
Yeah, and they purposely casted Brendan Routh because of the likeness he had with Christopher Reeves.
So it was never, ever going to be widely received as an amazing movie because he's not Christopher Reeves. But you know what Christopher Reeves never really did? Humour.
I mean, he did that bumbly Clark Kent quite well, which is kind of...
But that's Clark Kent. That's not fucking Superman.
Oh, Superman's humour?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And
even when Superman 3 and 4, when it was just diabolically terrible, it was still a very serious Superman.
Didn't they have Richard Pryor play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was god-awful.
No, it wasn't great.
But, bro, look... again, the Screen Actors Guild of America strike is over, so for all intents and purposes, the new DC Extended Cinematic, whatever the fucking thing they're calling it now, universe, is full steam ahead. We're wrapping up the DCEU with Avengers. Fuck, you can tell I'm a Marvel fan. With Aquaman 2, and then we sit back and wait.
Yeah.
And we see what comes next.
I mean, we show up for this podcast every week because we are fans of this stuff. I mean, showing up for a movie ticket, we're going to do it. It's going to happen.
Mate, I'll be first in line. Like, every single time a good movie, a good Marvel or DC movie comes out, I'm first in line. I'm getting my tickets before release date, watching it 2 days before the rest of the world because we might have disadvantages in television to the rest of the world. But we have a mega advantage when it comes to movies, bitch.
Oh, yeah, we get them first.
It pays to live in the future, except for when it doesn't. So, yeah, cool. That pretty much sums us up for today. But, Dino, what are we going to talk about next week?
Look, I got one for you, man.
Hit me with it.
With this, though, we have to break it up. This cannot be covered in one. It has to be broken up.
Okay.
And I want to go back and go into a galaxy far, far away.
The original multiversal fucking... Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Star Wars, man. I reckon we just go the first movies, maybe the prequels and the originals.
Yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it.
We'll leave out the Disney ones for now. We can touch on that because they kind of come in with the TV shows and the Disney-owned movies.
Oh, yeah.
7, 8, 9.
Yep. Yeah, the ones that most people wish were left out entirely. Yep, cool.
Look, I'll take fan stuff, mate. Give me a fan drawing pictures on a wall of Star Wars, I'm in.
Yeah, love it.
But yeah, look, I reckon we go back to the prequels, the Anakin Skywalker saga.
Fuck yeah, I love that. Hayden Christensen was so hot. He still is.
He's
my age now, but I mean, I'm still hot. So he can be hot.
He gives off daddy vibes.
No, I give off creepy uncle vibes. Anyway, and then I think after that, so what, you want to do 2 episodes on that, and then after that we're going to wrap for the year, and we're going to do an episode about the best and worst Christmas movies ever made. Everybody's favourite movies, like fucking Bad Santa, Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way. Jingle All the Way is honestly, it's Oscar worthy to me. That movie should have won Oscars.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why Dino is not a member of the Oscars. I'd like to thank the Academy and God. And I'm like, okay, so they're two things that you've never paid attention to before. But all right, cool.
He's always taking the piss. Yeah, man, Star Wars. Sounds
Love
good.
it. Let's do it. Star Wars next week. Deuces.
See you guys.
Hey, Dino.
Yeah, mate.
What do Alexander the Great and Winnie the Pooh have in common?
What?
The same middle name.
All right. Later.